When I was 3, someone switched me with another child. The good news was that this family was incredibly wealthy, and I had known since childhood that I was their fake son. I also knew this couple would discover my identity someday, so I used the temporary power I had gained to prepare a surprise for them well in advance. If they threw me out for their real son, I could take everything from them without mercy. On the day I turned 20, I discovered that Mr. and Mrs. Jiang were secretly searching for their biological son. Without hesitation, that night, before my fiancée discovered my identity, I slept with her. The next day, my identity was exposed. My family threw a check at me. Shan, this is for 50 million. Give up your position. Do not make Xiao uncomfortable. At that, I signed it without the slightest hesitation. I took the check and walked away. What a joke. Whoever stays has to deal with the male assistant by his fiancée's side. The poor student and her idealized old flame. The real heir can have that privilege. I was the tragic male supporting character in a romance novel for women. According to the plot, after the banquet, my fiancé would fall for the poor student working part-time as a waiter there. My identity as the fake heir would also be exposed, leaving me disgraced. From then on, I would spend my life paving the way for the heroine, a pathetic pawn crushed by the male lead. What a joke. I knew I was the supporting guy. Why would I keep playing along? Eat and drink my fill, then get out fast. That is the smart move. Shan, what is wrong? Seeing me stare blankly, my fiancée, Qingxue, sat beside me and asked. Her custom evening gown perfectly traced her graceful curves. Her carefully tended skin glowed like warm jade beneath the lights. She had drunk a little at the banquet, leaving a blush on her soft, rounded cheeks. She was breathtakingly beautiful. Momentarily dazzled, I quickly coughed. It is nothing. I am probably just tired. Qingxue, go take a shower first. Qingxue rolled her eyes at me and asked, What? Do you already dislike the smell of alcohol on me? One immediately put on a sincere expression. Not at all. It is late. I was just thinking we should rest early. Qingxue suspected nothing and smiled sweetly at me. Then she rose and headed for the bathroom. As I watched her lovely figure disappear behind the door, I swiftly stood and quietly picked up the phone she had left on the coffee table. I hurried to the open-air balcony outside. According to the plot, soon, Lin Fan, the poor student she had met at tonight's banquet, would call Qingxue. And because the poor student had sprained his ankle, Qingxue would rush out to take care of him. HMPH. Since I was leaving soon, how could I leave with a cuckold's shame hanging over me? The night breeze brushed my face as I reached the balcony. Then the phone screen suddenly lit up. A caller labeled Little Brother Lin Fan appeared. Just as expected, I took a deep breath and answered. Then I held the phone to my ear. At once, a deliberately lowered voice came through. A male voice tinged with weakness. Qingxue, I accidentally sprained my ankle on my way back tonight. It hurts so much. I am all alone in the dorm. Can you come take care of me tonight? I gave a cold laugh. Who the hell do you think you are? You think you have the right to call her Qingxue like that? Clearly, the caller had not expected a man to answer, and he froze. After several seconds of silence, he finally recovered. His tone instantly turned stiff. Who are you? Put Qingxue on the phone. I replied coldly. I am Qingxue's fiancé, Jiang Shan. A grown man sprains his ankle, and instead of seeing a doctor, he calls my fiancé for help in the middle of the night. I do not think you sprained your ankle. Your brain must have short-circuited. Once Lin Fan heard who I was, his voice stopped pretending to be pitiful. Instead, it carried a strange sense of superiority. Oh, so you are the fiancé Qingxue told me about. Qingxue told me herself that you are old-fashioned and boring. After a pause, he spoke even more arrogantly. Forget it. I have nothing to say to someone like you. Put Qingxue on the phone. I want to see whether she chooses to come care for me or chooses you. I scoffed and replied, Oh, you are pretty confident. Fine, but it is getting late. Qingxue and I still have intimate plans tonight. We can compete in a few days. The caller immediately panicked. Plans for the night? What did you say? What plans? I smiled leisurely. Boyfriends, girlfriends, engaged couples alone this late at night. What else could our plans be? Qingxue is my fiancée. Naturally, we are doing things to deepen our bond. What? No one ever taught you that. You little brat. You bastard. If you dare lay a finger on Qingxue. Before he could finish raging, I blocked his number, deleted it, and shut off the phone. Then I strolled back into the room and put the phone back where it was. Water pattered in the bathroom and steam filled the air because she was showering. Qingxue had not heard our conversation at all. I went to the other bathroom and took a quick shower. When I returned to the bedroom, Qingxue, dressed in a bathrobe, had just come out of the bathroom. She wore a silk robe loosely tied at the waist. Her long, damp hair spilled over her shoulders, carrying the fresh, misty scent of her bath. The steam had left her cheeks rosy, making her even more alluring than usual. I stepped forward, naturally wrapped an arm around her slender waist, and murmured, "Qingxue, we are getting married next month, right? Our parents have always wanted a grandchild." Qingxue's face instantly turned scarlet. Normally, she would have shoved me away in embarrassed anger, but the alcohol had clearly weakened her resolve tonight. She only gave a token squirm in my arms, letting out a coquettish little hum. "Didn't I say we'd wait until the wedding?" I said impatiently. "I cannot help it. You are too beautiful tonight, Qingxue. If I hold back any longer, what kind of man would I be?" After years of being engaged, Qingxue naturally had deep feelings for me. Besides, the plot had only just begun. Lin Fan's place in her heart was still nowhere near enough to shake my place in her heart. Most importantly, she never received that call. It was late morning when a frantic ringing of the doorbell finally woke me from a deep sleep. I casually threw on a robe and slowly made my way downstairs. The moment I opened the door, I saw my parents standing outside with a young man. The young man was thin and wore old clothes washed pale with wear. He kept his head lowered, looking timid. He was Jiang, the long-lost real heir who had grown up far from the family. Feigning ignorance, I stepped aside and asked, "Dad, Mom, what brings you here so early?" Mr. and Mrs. Jiang exchanged a grave look. They led the frail young man into the living room. Once everyone was seated, Mrs. Jiang spoke solemnly. "We came today to announce something important." She pushed Jiang out from behind her, then explained in a choked voice, "This child is our biological son, Jiang. We only just confirmed it. Poor child. He has suffered outside all these years." Mr. Jiang fixed me with a sharp gaze. Then he spoke in an unquestionable tone. "Jiang Shan, now that the truth is out, although you have been with us all these years and have managed the company impeccably, the position of heir to the Jiang family rightfully belongs to Jiang." I felt no stir at those words. As far as I was concerned, I could not really fault Mr. Jiang's decision. A biological son was always considered nobler than a fake one. In the original storyline, to prevent turmoil at the company, I chose to hand over power gradually, so Jiang could smoothly take over the Jiang family business. But in Jiang's eyes, it looked like I was greedy for the company and unwilling to let go. So, once he gained control of the company, he began working against me. I had to keep the company running, while also watching out for Jiang and the backstabs he kept springing on me. And to make matters even more absurd, Qingxue, my fiancée, started getting involved with the poor student she sponsored, her considerate male assistant, and the old flame who had returned from abroad. At first, Jiang feared the Su family behind Qingxue would stand up for me, but once he realized we had fallen out, he stopped even pretending. Faced with trouble both inside and out, I was powerless to turn things around and left in defeat. But now, whoever wants to clean up that corporate mess can do it. I am never doing it again. So without another word, I took the real heir Jiang's hand and said sincerely, "I have occupied your place all these years. I am truly sorry. I will leave right away." Seeing how decisive I was, Mr. and Mrs. Jiang, along with the real heir, were all stunned. But Mr. and Mrs. Jiang quickly recovered. Relieved smiles appeared on their faces. "Jiang Shan, I knew you were an obedient child." After a brief pause, he continued, "Our only concern now is the marriage alliance with the Su family. After all, Qingxue has always been close to you." Before he could finish, an angry, anxious female voice rang out from the staircase. "Jiang Shan." Qingxue hurried down the stairs. She wore a robe with one of my shirts casually thrown over it. Her hair was disheveled, but it could not hide her fury. Holding up her phone, she rushed over to me. Her almond-shaped eyes widened as she demanded, "Why did you hang up on him and block his number? Do you realize how rude that was?" That barrage of questions left Father Jiang's final word, "Good," stuck in his throat, leaving it stuck in his throat. Meanwhile, I leaned back on the sofa, waved a hand and smiled. "Stop. We can discuss this little matter later." Qingxue flared up at once. "A little matter, you call this?" But before she could finish, Mrs. Jiang immediately stepped forward and interrupted her. "Qingxue, do not get upset yet. We came today because Jiang Shan is not our biological son. We had been worried about your marriage alliance with Jiang Shan. But it seems your relationship is not all that strong after all. In that case, your engagement to Jiang Shan should be called off. If the Su and Jiang families still want a marriage alliance, you can consider Jiang Shao instead. Mrs. Jiang sounded far more relaxed as she said this. Clearly, Su Qingxue's appearance had erased their final concern. This sudden news left the furious Su Qingxue completely dumbfounded. Seeing that Su Qingxue raised no objection, Mrs. Jiang hurriedly took from her handbag a check she had prepared in advance and tossed it in front of me. Jiang Shan, this is 50 million. Take it, and it will settle the last bond between us. Leave the Jiang family and make your own way. Do not make things difficult for Jiang Shao. I looked at the flimsy check, then glanced at Su Qingxue beside me, who seemed to want to say something, but only pressed her lips together in the end. She watched me with a complicated look in her eyes. Then I accepted the check without hesitation, picked up a pen, and found the marked spot on the family severance agreement. Signed my name. Slipping the check into my robe pocket, I said sincerely, "All right, I understand. Thank you for raising me all these years." With that, I did not look at anyone else. I turned and walked straight out the front door. I did not even take a single item of clothing. Behind me, I vaguely heard my adoptive parents comforting the real heir, Jiang Shao. Su Qingxue finally came to her senses and angrily demanded, "Wait, Jiang Shan, stop right there. Explain yourself. What exactly happened with Lin Fan's call?" I did not stop walking, a faint smile curling across my lips. What was there left to say? Whoever wants to wade into that cesspool can go ahead. I am out of here. Azure sea, blue skies, golden sand. 3 days later, I was sprawled lazily on a beach, enjoying a perfectly firm massage from a professional therapist. The warm sea breeze brushed across my skin, carrying salty moisture and the rustle of distant palms. An ice-cold coconut sat within reach, with a tiny paper umbrella beside its straw. Now this was living. With 50 million in hand, I might as well have had "Live for Today" stamped across my forehead. Just as I began drifting off, nearly melting into the afternoon sunshine, a shadow fell over me. The therapist's hands paused. I frowned in annoyance and lazily opened my eyes. Before me stood a furious, yet lovely figure in the sunlight. She wore a sharply tailored black dress, clearly expensive and utterly at odds with the vacation setting behind her. I could not help freezing for a moment. Was that not my sister Jiang Rushuang, who had gone abroad? That is right. I was not an only child in the Jiang family. I had a younger sister, 2 years my junior. Unlike me, she was the genuine Jiang heiress. But 2 years ago, Jiang Rushuang went overseas to study. She had not played much of a role in the original storyline, so I never expected her to come looking for me. The awkward little girl from 2 years ago had certainly grown into herself. Her skin was fair as snow, her slender figure perfectly curved. She truly had the kind of breathtaking beauty that made people stop and stare. When Jiang Rushuang saw that I recognized her, she immediately crouched down, threw her arms around my head, and burst into tears. The head she was hugging was mine. "Brother, how can you still be in the mood for a vacation? Our family is about to fall apart. That useless Jiang Shao has turned the company into a complete disaster." To please Su Qingxue, he blindly launched several projects that completely ignored market expectations. They are burning through money like crazy, and that is not even the worst of it. As the company's president, he has no concern at all for his public image. He personally went after one of Su Qingxue's male assistants. In a public social media feud, it went straight to the headlines. The company's stock price has been crushed. I came home, and my whole world collapsed. "Brother, come back and save the company. I will be your inside woman." She shook me until my head spun. I hurriedly struggled to my feet and pushed away my overly excited younger sister. "Rushuang, do not get worked up. Calm down and listen to me. I am no longer part of the Jiang family. Whether the Jiang family thrives or falls has nothing to do with me." Jiang Rushuang stared at me in disbelief. "Brother, what is wrong with you? How can you say something like that? You told me yourself back then that Jiang Group was the masterpiece you had poured your heart and soul into. You said you would lead it to greater heights. Now it is on the verge of being ruined. How can you watch it happen and do nothing?" I gave a non-committal hum. Then I reclined in my comfortable beach chair, picked up the chilled coconut and took a slow sip. Exactly. Only after leaving the company did I finally realize that life is not just about work. Basking in the sun, drinking coconut water, and enjoying life are pretty great too. No, brother, do not give up on yourself like this. Jiang Rushuang anxiously crouched beside my chair, her pretty face scrunched in misery, tugging hard on my arm, trying to pull me out of this decadent hell. Brother, I know you resent how heartless Mom and Dad were to you, because they kicked you straight out of the company. You are hurt and resentful, but I, Jiang Rushuang, will always stand by you, without condition, even without a blood tie. You are still my only brother. If I had not been overseas that day, I would have torn into Mom and Dad, and that Qingxue too. Oh right, and that shameless woman, Qingxue. I will find a chance to slap her, and vent your anger for you. Watching Jiang Rushuang throw mock punches with her tiny clenched fist, I lazily waved a hand and smiled. Rushuang, I appreciate the thought. It is not that I do not want to help you. It is that I already signed that agreement. In black and white, I have severed all ties with the Jiang family. What right does an outsider have? And under what identity? To interfere in Jiang Group's internal management? I would have no standing. Oh well. Jiang Rushuang was like a punctured balloon. She instantly deflated, with nothing left to say. Her shoulders slumped, and her bright eyes dimmed as she muttered softly, "Is there really no way at all?" Yet only seconds later, she popped back into view, clearly hatching another scheme. Brother, actually, there is a way. She immediately coaxed. Look, since legally and biologically, you are no longer my actual brother, then I can marry you. Would that not let you, as the Jiang family's son-in-law, step in and take charge of the company? Cough cough. Her words made me choke on my coconut water. After finally catching my breath, I stared at her in disbelief and scolded. Jiang Rushuang, are you out of your mind? Do you even know what you are saying? But a faint, awkward blush crossed Jiang Rushuang's face before she replied righteously. What is wrong with that? Am I wrong? Everyone saw your skills and capabilities at the company. The shareholders and executives all know what you can do. No one turns down money. As long as you are willing to return, they will support it wholeheartedly. Besides, brother, look at you now. You cannot even freely buy a mansion worth tens of millions. I do not believe you truly think this hard life is enjoyable. I drew a deep breath, my voice carrying an unprecedented seriousness. Jiang Rushuang, you know that is not what I am asking. Seeing she could not brush it off, Jiang Rushuang dropped the act. Her eyes were filled with defiance. Brother, I am not joking. Mom and Dad never cared for me growing up. You were the one who took care of everything for me. You are the person in this world I love most. Since we are not related by blood, why can I not marry you? Seeing this, I softened my tone. I raised a hand to stop her from arguing further. Rushuang, I understand how you feel. I will not go back to the Jiang family, but I will help you another way. Jiang Rushuang froze. Then what do you mean, brother? I said gently. If you want control of the company, you do not have to rely on someone else. Why can you not be the one to turn things around? Yourself. Do not forget, you are an heir to me. Jiang Rushuang repeated it instinctively, her delicate brows knitting together. But I have only just returned home. The domestic market and the company's tangled internal relationships. I cut through her hesitation. If you do not understand, learn. If you do not know, figure it out. I can teach you all of that. Besides, did you not say Qingxue is useless? To replace someone useless, do I really need to do it myself? Jiang Rushuang pursed her lips in disappointment, but she quickly rallied. Then, brother, I will come see you every day from now on. Do not go running off. I smiled helplessly. Do not worry. I will not leave you out. Over the following days, I left the sunny beach behind for a while and devoted myself to teaching Jiang Rushuang the personalities and abilities of every key department head, how to assess market trends, how to exploit divisions within the board to win allies, how to target Qingxue's flashy but hollow projects, and how to build a trustworthy team of her own. Jiang Rushuang was gifted to begin with the resolve to fight with her back against the wall. She improved by leaps and bounds. Step by step, she laid her plans within the group, gathering hard proof that Qingxue had harmed the company's interest. At the same time, she used media pressure to expose Qingxue's misdeeds and incompetence to the public. In the end, after board meeting, and mounting public pressure, Qingxue lost all support. Those projects he had launched to please Qingxue became the final straw that broke him. Even Qingxue's father could not contain the backlash. Qingxue was driven out of Jiang Group's core of power. He was left with an insignificant token post and completely sidelined. Jiang Rushuang firmly took control of Jiang Group. Meanwhile, at the Su family villa, Su Qingxue lay on her bed, irritably scrolling through her phone. On screen were photos of Jiang surrounded by reporters, dodging them in a sorry state. Every caption dripped with mockery and ridicule. Since Jiang lost power, he seemed like a different person. He was no longer the true heir who, before her, had carefully maintained his gentlemanly image. Instead, he had become touchy and short-tempered, often coming to her to complain and beg for help, until she could hardly stand him. Then there was Lin Fan, the poor student she had once pitied. He repeatedly brought her all kinds of business plans, hoping for her investment, but every venture ended in a total loss. After she refused to invest, he revealed his true colors, obsessed with quick profits, trying to take the money and run. Furious, she called the police and sent him to prison. And then there was her supposedly devoted male assistant. Today, after a meeting between the Su and Jiang families, he had even hit on Jiang Rushuang in private. If Jiang Rushuang had not come to Su Qingxue herself to gloat, Su Qingxue would never have known about it. Now, he too had been thrown out of the company and blacklisted completely. The people around her had ebbed away like the tide, leaving only a few ragged bubbles amid the wreckage. Su Qingxue walked to the enormous floor-to-ceiling window. She gazed at the vibrant yet icy city night outside. An unprecedented emptiness and frustration flooded her heart. She could not help recalling the past, the days when she and I had still been engaged. Back then I could seem overly focused on work, even a little boring, but I was always calm and dependable. I kept everything in perfect order. I remembered every one of her preferences. Whenever she was in trouble, I was the first to appear. And whenever I looked at her, my eyes held gentle patience and unwavering attention. But back then, she had been so securely protected, sheltered beneath my wings, that she took it all for granted. But now, she rubbed her brow irritably. A feeling she did not even dare examine too closely. A feeling called regret quietly coiled around her heart. She suddenly felt that the home that had once belonged to her and Jiang Shan had been so warm, so deeply missed. Early the next morning, while Su Qingxue was working, there came a soft knock at her office door. Her chief secretary entered, wearing a mysterious smile. "Qingxue, I have some good news. Want to hear it?" Having always been by Su Qingxue's side, the two were less like boss and subordinate, and more like best friends. Looking at her secretive secretary, Su Qingxue smiled and replied, "All right, tell me. Do not keep me guessing." The secretary lowered her voice, her tone brimming with excitement. "I just got word from the airline. The man you have always pined for is coming back. His flight arrives at the international airport at 3 this afternoon." At those words, Su Qingxue's eyes lit up. Qin Lang, the senior Su Qingxue had adored as a girl, was also the one in her heart. Her pure, unreachable ideal, untouched by worldly dust. Perhaps seeing Senior Qin, as fresh as a clear breeze and bright as the moon, would help her recapture that pure, beautiful feeling from before, and escape the mess her life had become. She immediately rose to her feet, smoothed her slightly tousled hair in the mirror, and touched up her faintly tired makeup. Once again, she was the dazzling heiress of the Su family. "Get the car ready. We are going to the airport." On the way, Su Qingxue kept wondering where she should take Qin Lang to eat after picking him up, and what they should talk about. Yet, filled with anticipation and nervousness, she arrived at the international terminal exit, her gaze anxiously searching the crowd for that refined figure from her memories. But she saw someone else. Jiang Shan. I was dressed in a well-fitted linen shirt and trousers, standing tall, with a lazy ease in my expression, pulling a suitcase. I strolled unhurriedly out of the arrivals corridor. Su Qingxue froze where she stood. The anticipation on her face instantly froze, turning to shock. She sharply turned to her secretary, her voice tight with suppressed anger. She demanded, "What is going on? Did you not say Senior Qin Lang was coming back today?" Startled by Su Qingxue's piercing stare, the secretary blinked, utterly confused. "Huh? Qin Lang? Who is Qin Lang?" She paused, her gaze falling on Su Qingxue's wristwatch, a limited edition diamond watch I had given her. Then she glanced at the pair she had deliberately worn today. Pearl earrings designed by a master jeweler I had hired. "I noticed you have been wearing the watch Jiang Shan gave you years ago, and in your office, you put out the jade ornament he gave you just yesterday. I thought he was the person you wanted to see most. So, the moment I heard Jiang Shan had returned from his trip abroad, I told you." Looking at her embarrassed secretary, Su Qingxue unconsciously touched the watch on her wrist. They say those within a situation cannot see it as clearly as those outside it. Only then did her secretary's words make her realize she had been trying to find someone to take Jiang Shan's place. Did that not mean Shan was the idealized love she could never let go of. This realization made Qingxue feel deeply ashamed, her cheeks burning. But as she watched the figure in the distance heading outside, a powerful impulse surged within her. Now that she knew she was wrong, was she going to keep making the same mistake? She had to do something. Taking a deep breath, Qingxue shook off her secretary's hand and hurried after me in her high heels. Shan. Her voice trembled slightly with nerves. I stopped, looking in surprise at my former fiancé. Qingxue. What are you doing here? Qingxue looked up at me, struggling to remain composed. I know I was wrong before. I was too willful, blinded by appearances. I said so many hurtful things, and did some foolish things. Twisting her fingers together, she gathered her courage, and spoke the words that had lingered in her heart for so long. Shan, can we go back to how things were? I promise I will never be like that again. Can we start over? Shan, I cannot live without you. Those words seemed to drain every last bit of strength from her. But before I could speak, a clear female voice, dripping with mockery, rang out beside me. Well, look who it is. It is Miss Su herself. Qingxue stiffened and turned around. Rushuang had somehow arrived at the airport as well. She wore a sharp business suit, clearly having come specifically to pick me up. With her arms folded, all traces of her former girlishness were gone. She walked over with elegant yet imposing steps, wearing the air of a judge. As she looked Qingxue up and down, Rushuang's red lips curled in a mocking smile. What is it? Have you grown bored of the men around you, Miss Su? Now you want my brother to take your leftovers? Do you remember how good my brother was to you? He gave you his whole heart, and treated you like a treasure. And what did you do? You even dared to give him attitude over some tea-serving waiter. Now that you see those men cannot be relied on, you finally remember how good my brother was. Rushuang sneered, her tone growing sharper. Qingxue, where do you get off thinking life works that way? If my brother wanted the moon now, I would give it to him. Why should he ever turn back? To take back damaged goods like you? Her words were like ice picks, cruel and precise as they pierced Qingxue's heart. Her face turned deathly pale, and she nearly collapsed. She looked at me, her eyes filled with regret. Shan, I was just deceived by them. Only now do I realize you are the only one in my heart. You still have feelings for me too, do you not? At that, I waved a hand. Qingxue, we are over. You do not need to say any of this to me. Rushuang, let us go. Rushuang naturally slipped her arm through mine. Her voice instantly turned light and affectionate. Brother, the car is waiting outside. I have the kitchen prepare dishes you love. Let us hurry home. I nodded slightly and let Rushuang hold my arm. As we walked past the stunned Qingxue, I did not spare her another glance. Back at the long-missed Jiang family estate, the living room was brightly lit, and the air was rich with the tempting scent of food. Rushuang briskly served food onto my plate, while chattering away about Qingxue's heartlessness. I listened, occasionally murmuring in agreement, but as I ate, my vision began to blur. Before consciousness fully sank into darkness, I barely managed to lift my heavy eyelids. The last thing I saw was Rushuang's pretty face leaning close with a mischievous smile. When I regained consciousness, my entire body ached. The moment I opened my eyes, I realized the train had already passed through the tunnel. I was so furious that I roared, Rushuang, you have some nerve. I struck Rushuang awake. Still groggy, she rubbed her eyes. Seeing my dark expression, her eyes darted about. She immediately rolled around on the bed, shamelessly playing innocent. Brother, I was wrong. Please forgive me just this once. Ever since childhood, I had never been able to resist Rushuang when she acted cute. And after I taught her a thing or two, Rushuang had become ruthless in her methods, always targeting below the belt. What was done. So, I could only make the best of it. Half a month later, Rushuang and I held our wedding as planned. As for the wedding, most shareholders and business partners were not surprised at all. After all, anyone with eyes could see that the abilities of this fake young master far surpassed Xiao, the useless real heir, who would turn their back on money, using their daughter to tie down an outsider who could bring enormous profits, was, to them, the best deal imaginable. Of course, Mr. and Mrs. Jiang had no such insight. When they heard I was marrying Rushuang, they were rushed to the hospital overnight. I kicked Xiao over there too, to serve as their caregiver. That kept them from spoiling the wedding. Out of sight, out of mind. Blessings rang out without end throughout the wedding venue, amid thunderous cheers and applause. Jiang Rushuang and I exchanged rings and made our vows. In a corner of the joyous crowd, Qingxue wore an elegant formal dress, yet looked utterly lost and dejected. After presenting her wedding gift, she quickly fled in embarrassment. Time flew by, and 7 years passed in the blink of an eye. Under Jiang Rushuang's and my joint leadership, the Jiang Group continued expanding its reach and became the industry's unshakable market leader. Our careers were stable, and our home was happy. At last, we stepped back from our demanding work and decided to have a child. After Jiang Rushuang became pregnant, so she could focus on her pregnancy in peace. All company matters, great and small, were temporarily handled solely by me. One morning, I sat behind my large desk. As my secretary delivered the day's schedule as usual, I glanced over it, then paused at one particular entry. There was unexpectedly a partnership meeting with the Su Group later that day, and the other side's lead representative was listed as Qingxue. When it was time for the meeting, the conference room door opened. Qingxue entered, surrounded by her team. In 7 years, she had shed some of her old spoiled arrogance. Her features now carried greater composure and capability, yet deep in her eyes remained a lingering trace of loneliness. When she saw me sitting at the head of the table, an unmistakable flash of delight crossed her eyes, but she quickly suppressed that inappropriate emotion and swiftly shifted into work mode. She professionally presented the Su Group's proposal, only stealing the occasional glance at me. In that delicate, awkward atmosphere, the meeting finally came to an end. I stood and politely saw Qingxue and her group out. As we reached the company entrance, I unexpectedly spotted a familiar figure. Jiang Rushuang stood there holding a thermos, waiting with a warm smile. At the sight of Jiang Rushuang's slightly rounded belly, Qingxue went pale, then walked away utterly devastated. I hurried over, took the thermos from Jiang Rushuang, and reproached her. Why are you not resting properly at home? What are you doing at the office? Jiang Rushuang casually linked her arm through mine. I am only 2 months pregnant. I can still get around. Besides, I wanted to bring you some soup. As she spoke, she glanced toward where Qingxue had gone and asked, Was that Qingxue? I nodded slightly and answered openly. It was only business. Do not worry. She and I have been over for a long time. Jiang Rushuang replied as if it were obvious. Do not worry. I am not jealous. When I was little, I used to trail after Qingxue, calling her sister-in-law. As far as I was concerned, we had long been family. I only got angry when Qingxue made all those foolish mistakes later on. That was why I was angry. But seeing how lost and aimless she is now, honestly, I am not all that angry anymore. If you have time, try to talk her through it. Looking at Jiang Rushuang, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. In the end, I said helplessly, You really are something. All right, if I get the chance, I will try to reason with her. But whether she can move on depends on her alone. Either way, our lives are already headed toward happiness.